Now starting, all attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this new webinar hosted by the Several Nines team on the topic of database performance tuning for MySQL. It's great to have you with us today. My name is Jean-Jérôme, and I'll be looking after you for the next 60 minutes or so from a logistical perspective. And I'm with the Several Nines team myself. So thanks again for joining us this morning or this afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. If you have any questions during the next 60 minutes, feel free to ask them in the question section of your control panel, which you should see on your screen. And you can also use the chat box if you like. Or alternatively, if you'd like to continue the conversation after this webinar, feel free to email me directly at jj@severalnines.com, and we'll look after you then with your question at that email address. The session today is recorded, and we'll make the recording available to you within the next couple of days. But for now, we're live with my colleague, Christoph Czacek, who's going to present today on database performance tuning. And just before I hand over to Christoph, I wanted to ask all of you in the audience a quick question. And this is just to see which version of MySQL you're using yourselves currently, just so we know kind of who we have in terms of MySQL users in the audience. Maybe you're on 5.7 or you're still on 5.5, 5.6, and maybe you have the Percona version or you're on MariaDB. So it'd be or maybe you have a combination of those. So it could be a combination, of course, as well. So it'd be interesting to see which of these you currently use yourselves. And with that information, then I'll hand over to Christoph in just in a few seconds. And as I said, feel free to ask questions at any point during the next 60 minutes. So I give this just a few more seconds for everyone to participate. Thanks for providing your information here. Great, there's still a few people providing the details. So thanks very much for that. I'll just give it a few more seconds. And I'll close the poll then in a few seconds and share the results with everyone. Great, thanks very much. I think that's everybody. Thanks for your participation here. I'm just going to close this now and share the results. Great. Nice. So it seems to be a split between, some of you who are on 5.5 MySQL or 5.6. That's pretty evenly split, 50% of the audience. And then we have a good few of you on 5.7 already, which is nice. And we'll touch on it, I think, towards the end of the webinar, because we have some nice information coming out on 5.7 soon. And then it's nice to see a bit of MariaDB in the mix as well. So any comments on that, Christoph, before you take over?
Yeah, I mean, it is really nice to see, so a large number of people that are using 5.7 already. That's a really great release. I mean, this webinar will be kind of based on we'll be mentioning features which are available in mostly 5.6, 5.7. So not every variable that I mentioned here, that I will mention here, will be available also for MySQL 5.5. But I hope this will be generic enough so everyone will be able to benefit from what we are going to cover.
Great, great. Thanks, Christoph. And with that, then I'll hand over to you for the presentation.
Okay, thank you, JJ. So again, good morning and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Krzysztof Książek, and as JJ mentioned, we will be talking about performance tuning for MySQL. First of all, I'd like to say a couple of words about our Become MySQL DBA series, which is a series of blog posts and webinars in which we try to help DBA people who take care, have to take a look after their MySQL infrastructure. So we're trying to share some tips and good practices, and if you would like to check the previous webinars that we did in the series, you can check our webinar replay page on severalnines.com, and yeah, just register and feel free to browse through the webinars. Okay, so I'll be talking about configuration tuning. So the question is what to tune and why to tune, right? So on a very generic level, general level, there are two things that we will be thinking that we might want to tune. So that's MySQL configuration, obviously. So different type of buffers, buffer pool, some DBA settings maybe. But also we're talking about operating system, right? Because MySQL runs on some kind of OS. Assuming we are assuming this some version of Linux. So there are also settings like swapping some I/O scheduler, CPU scheduler, or maybe even TCP/IP stack for wider network connections that you may want to look into and then tune. And the question why? Well, obviously for the performance, right? Although what I really would like to stress at this point is that it is, unlikely that you will get huge increase in performance from configuration tuning. This is if you're looking for like tenfold increase, like orders of magnitude increase, you're more likely to get this type of improvement from query tuning. Unless your system is in very badly shape in terms of the configuration. In that case, yeah, it might be some huge improvements. But configuration tuning is mostly fine tuning. This is not it's not a solution for all of your problems. We'll start discussing the whole tuning with the tuning process. So in general, this is a never-ending story. It starts when you install MySQL server on some host, and then you do some initial tuning, and then this is basically, it goes on and on and on. And this is because you have to tune for a specific workload. So the problem with the workload is that the workload changes in time. So let's say that you have maybe you start with some small data set. Everything fits in memory. So you are basically CPU bound. So you tune for the CPU bound type of workload. Yes, you're looking to remove some contentions in a DB, maybe add some buffer pool instances, whatever. And then with time, the amount of data grows. It does not fit in memory anymore. And then your workload switches to more IO bound workload. In this case, your focus switches to some maybe IO settings, which were not that important before. So this is this basically trying to reach the goal, which is like catching up the horizon, more or less. Also, sometimes even a new release of the application can change your workload. So basically, you have maybe you have some kind of query mix which is focused on, let's say, IO bound, like heavy queries, maybe, or maybe differently. Maybe you have point in selects, very quick, very efficient queries, but new release of your application added some reporting or something like that. And it also can switch your workload from CPU to IO bound or vice versa. And as I said, you have to keep in mind that configuration tuning is not likely to give you a huge increase, except if you start from a very bad level. There are a couple of variables that we're going to cover here, which kind of can help you they have a big impact. But this is not the ultimate solution to all your problems, unfortunately. So basically, the tuning process, in short, can be described as create a test environment, then you change some single variable, single setting in MyCNF, run benchmarks, assess the results, and then, if needed, proceed through this loop again. So restore the environment to known state, and then repeat the process. So basically, the thing is that to make everything work, you need a deterministic test environment. So because what you want to know to be able to is to measure the impact of each of the changes that you make in your MyCNF. Therefore, you have to have something which is stable. I mean, the initial conditions, they have to be exactly the same for every test, every benchmark that you make. So the environment should mirror production as close as possible. This is pretty self-explanatory and obvious, because the closer to production you are, the more relevant the tests, the benchmarks, the results you'll get, they will be more relevant to what you will see on production when you apply those changes. This is a very important step. The changes should be introduced one at a time. So this is the only way in which you can to make sure that you will understand the impact of each of the change in your MySQL configuration or operating system configuration. Because let's say that you did some, you cut some corners, you changed, you tweaked like three settings in MyCNF, and then you run benchmarks, and you see a nice increase in the performance, and you're happy. But then the question is, maybe out of those three changes, only one pushed you forward, and two remaining stepped they're decreasing the performance. The decrease is not enough, so you see the overall is better, but it might be even better if you wouldn't make those changes, those two additional changes. So the only way is to make one change at a time. Again, benchmark the system using queries which are as close to production as possible. This is again obvious, because otherwise you may see just completely different results on the production if you do some synthetic benchmarks. And then you have to, if you feel like tweaking some more, like changing some more variables, you have to restore the system, the test environment, to the original state for another run of tweaking, and then basically rinse and repeat until you're happy with what you get.